Hey y'all, welcome to Sex Ed for You, the podcast where research meets reality.
I am Lauren, a certified holistic sexuality educator.
And I'm Holland, and I have a Bachelor of Science in Public Health.
Sex Ed for You's podcast is for people who want to date and have great sex that is fun and safe and enjoyable. We like to empower our listeners to make informed decisions that lead to values-based living.
So,
Hi.
hello.
Welcome back, everyone. Tell me, what are we talking about today and why?
Today I really want to talk about, or at least touch on, the phases of the menstrual cycle, because I've noticed since I got off of birth control, I can noticeably tell a difference in my personality, the way I feel, and the way I think I look week to week almost. Like, it's almost exactly like every Monday I'm like, it's a new me.
Hello, self.
Yes. Like, I wake up on Mondays and I'm like, who am I going to be today? Let's look at my chart, my Google Excel sheet that I made.
Yeah. Oh, God.
And
it's
you have
so
more.
real. No, it's so real. And I mean, you and I have talked about this. Like, even looking at our booties. We've talked about this specifically, too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wow, what a beautiful butt I have. To like, oh, my God. Did my butt just get bigger between yesterday and today? The view of self is so crazy. So crazy.
I saw a video on Instagram the other day where it was a side-by-side of the same woman. And they said, you probably find the woman on the left more attractive because she was photographed during her ovulatory phase versus like her luteal phase or something. And something about humans, apparently we are literally programmed to find people in their ovulatory phase more attractive.
Isn't that insane, everyone? That's insane.
That's insane. And so, of course, it affects the way we see ourselves because the rest of the world is also seeing us differently. Granted, I would never notice on somebody else. Maybe that's because I'm not genetically programmed to like mate with women.
But I think we do notice. Like, do you think it has anything to do with when we see someone out and we say to them, wow, like, you look so great today?
Yeah.
And how much of that is coming from us and how much of that is coming from the way they feel about themselves? Right? Because you and I see each other a lot right now.
We do.
Sometimes we'll go days and it's a very long time. But you and I will notice when the other one like put effort into their outfit versus threw on casual like shirt and tee. Shirt and tee. Those are the same things. Shirt and
I
pants.
fully was following.
I meant like jeans and a tee.
Yeah.
That is what I meant.
I knew
was
what you
looking
meant.
at Holland jeans. Oh, well.
You do look really, really good today, by the way. I love your outfit.
Thank you. And it's funny that you say that because my period's just ending and I ovulate. My cycles, everybody welcome to how long are Lauren cycles? 24 days. Exactly.
Which is short.
So short. Average menstrual cycles around 28 to 32.
Yeah. Mine is 32.
32 is what a lot of like pregnancy estimated due dates are calculated from. Yeah, but 28 to 32, pretty normal. 24 is on the shorter end. Remember, whenever anyone, doctor, anybody says like average, that is calculated by things that are less than that average number and greater than that average number. So mine would be the things that pull that average down.
It makes me want to ask for the standard deviation. Not even kidding.
Right?
Like, it makes me think back to statistics class and we're like, well, how many people had ones that were 20 days long or ones that were 38 days long? Like, how big is the gap here? Because I personally don't know a lot of people who are 28 days unless they're on the pill. That is the only people that I know that are actually on 28-day periods. And even when I was on a 28-day cycle, or sorry, let me say that again. When I was on the pill, my cycle was still 32 days.
Right.
When I was taking that sugar pill, that's the last week, it would take 4 days for my for my period to actually hit.
It shows the wisdom of our bodies so much. They're like, no, my time is this, right? I was talking with somebody the other day about weight. We were saying the same thing, that BMI, news to anyone who might not know this, but BMI was only calculated on male bodies.
Yes.
And it's just so flawed. So flawed. And what's far more interesting to me is the weight range our bodies love to stay in. And what they show, studies show that their bodies love to stay around like this 10-pound average, right? Like under, over, all around. And that when you look at someone, they could diet so hard and starve themselves and sure, maybe get to what I call kindly a trauma weight, right? But they're not thriving. Whereas they could eat normally and kind of go up a little bit and down a bit, depending upon so many things.
Thank you. Sorry.
So but it's interesting I was going to say one more thing. Oh, that I really want to know when that average menstrual cycle was calculated to, and if they've done a refresh. Can we look that up? Can you put that on? Yeah, you could look it up now, or we could just put it on the notes. Y'all look in the screen. If you're not watching on Spotify or YouTube, go over and check. Because so much research is outdated and hasn't been revisited.
No, I don't know why.
Right? And what were people eating? What was the majority of their diets, right? Did it use only white women? I have so many questions.
And what age range were these women that they were testing? Because my period has fluctuated a shit ton in my lifetime, and I'm only 22, and I've been having it since I was 13. That is almost a decade of period, and it's changed a lot.
In contrast to, mine has not at all. I started when I was 11. It has been 24 days since I was 11. And accepting randomly when it'll be shorter, like it was this last month. It came at 22 days. Happy times.
Wow.
22. Which, okay, a little bit of menstrual knowledge. If it's 22 this month, this past cycle, and it never does that again, outlier. Or if it does that once every, 6 months, outlier. If our menstrual cycles, A, are all over the place, or B, getting shorter and shorter and shorter between bleeds, that is something to talk to a care provider about. And reach out to us if you need recommendations for types of care providers. There's so many different ones that can help menstruating people. This does not need to be something that we have shame around or that we can't have open dialogue around. I highly recommend Dr. Jolene Brighton, I think is her name, and we'll link it in the show notes on Instagram for amazing information. The Period Doctor is also one of my favorites on Instagram. So many great free resources now that you do not need to feel alone. So I'm really fascinated by when the last time we calculated menstrual cycle lengths.
Me too. And I'm so glad you said that about looking into and paying attention to your menstrual cycle, because that is something that I absolutely check often to check in on my body. I feel like that's such a, not easy, I wouldn't put it as easy, but it's such a common and easily accessible way to check in on your reproductive health, is to just keep track of at least a little bit your cycle and what it looks like for you. Because I think it really gives you a good point to be like, okay, how are we doing?
Yeah. So many fun apps out there now. So many. We should actually, let's crowdsource on Instagram and get people's favorite apps. That'd be so fun. So many good ones. I use a free one. I know that, especially with Roe v. Wade overturning, people were definitely encouraging folks to hop off of the apps, because there are some studies that can be tracked to if you missed a period and you were pregnant and you were in a state where abortion was illegal. So if you feel threatened, track it by hand.
Yeah, I actually have a Google spreadsheet that I'll link in the show notes that I use, because I lived in Texas and I was using Flow, which was a good tracking app. But then when that came out, I was so scared. So I started using a Google Sheet. So I'll link the Google Sheet if you feel uncomfortable using an app, because I can see where that would be intimidating. Obviously, I understand.
Yeah. And I don't want fear to keep people from knowing their bodies. No. It is. It's not. I love that you said it's not easy, right? It takes a little bit of thought. But I wish, right? I like to imagine a world sometimes where it's just part of kind of this coming of age ritual where that's a part of the responsibility of being a menstruating person. not in a bad way, in a lovely way. Just like if we're going to drive a car, we take driver's ed.
Yeah.
And if we're going to own a car, we have car insurance. And these things are a little bit of a hassle, but they come with this freedom and this like, I don't know, this feeling of maturity. And I know it's a lot, but it is something we can do. And it's such a good way to be a first lover to yourself.
Yeah.
Right? To know how heavy your flows are, to know the different colors of blood, to know what the different colors mean, right? And to pay attention to these things, because I've heard so many times folks say, oh my goodness, my period came so early. And then I'll ask when the last one was. And they're like, oh, I don't know. I mean, it was just last month.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right, well, but it was on the 1st of last month. Well, if your period is 28 days or 24 like mine, it's not going to be a full calendar month.
No.
It's going to be an amount of days.
Yeah.
And so, you know, your period's just not likely to start on the 1st of every month or the 7th of every month.
Yeah.
It's going to be like this weird rotation. Also, it's kind of nerdy and cool to start watching what it does with the moon.
I was about to say the moon phases are so interesting.
In the course of 6 months-ish, I will go from bleeding with the start, like with the full moon, to bleeding with the new moon. And it will just move. And then magically one day it aligns and blows my mind.
That's so cool.
Blows my mind. But if I wasn't paying attention, I wouldn't get to like enjoy the magic.
Yeah, you get to nerd out with it.
Yeah. It just feels like, whew, that's special.
I think for me, it's very comforting to track it because I feel more validated in the way that I feel in my own body. Because there are some days where I wake up and I truly feel like I hate myself. And that's not often for me because I've done so much self-work. But when you just wake up and feel like, oh my God, I hate everything, including myself. And then you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, why do I look uglier than I did yesterday? Like those things can be so frustrating and can be so, like I feel so victimized in my own body and I feel out of control. And if you don't know this, control is a ginormous thing for me. So feeling out of control is scary. And when I can look at my chart and realize, oh, well, it's because I'm in, what phase is it that makes you feel
luteal.
ugly?
Yeah.
Luteal phase.
You're like about to start menstruating usually.
Yes.
Yeah. And so many things, right? Like let's talk about when we're in that stage, what our bodies are needing and good ways to love on ourselves. Do you have any hacks, like any affirmations or anything you do tell yourself? I love that you said it's validating. And then I'd love to share like little things that I've started doing recently.
I think baths are a really good one for me. Self-care in a lot of different ways. It looks different for every phase. Face masks and doing things that make me feel like I'm making not an improvement, but an adjustment towards where I feel like I want to be. I think one that's really, really hard for me is that I struggle and have struggled with disordered eating for a really long time. And when I am about to ovulate, I eat like nobody's business. And it is very hard for me because it reminds me that I've struggled with binge eating for almost my whole life. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing it again. And then I'll look at my thing and I'll be like, no, I'm just really hungry because I'm about to ovulate. So in those cases, I'll make myself a protein fiber-packed meal. And I will let myself eat however much I want of this healthy home-cooked meal. And that is so just affirming and joyful for me because I know that it doesn't necessarily have to be the healthiest meal ever, but I know that I'm giving my body the nutrients that it's craving. And that's really what I need.
Right.
So it varies phase to phase. What are your tips?
Yeah. Okay. So for luteal, like if we'll often say like PMSing, right? Like in that time leading up to when your period begins, I often feel so uncomfortable in my own body, so tired, so sluggish. I will change the clothes I wear. I will wear like cozy clothes. Like it's definitely, now it's fall, so like sweaters, but I'd also do like cozy t-shirts, soft things, not like jeans that are going to be binding to me. Maybe like, obviously I work, so I try to like put on some work clothes, but like flowy pants or a flowy dress, not like the form-fitting things.
Yeah.
No, like I don't. I get to be the choice maker in the morning of what I put on my body. And so maybe it is loose wrapped stuff. So I will definitely make a super purposeful choice of the things that I put on my body that in the same way are like, feel like a warm hug because I deserve it. Nothing has changed. My value did not change from the night before to this morning. Yeah. I won't stand and look at myself in the mirror for a long time. I won't do it. I don't own a scale anyway. Like I threw it out a long time ago because it was really disordered for me. But I wouldn't do that, especially when I'm exercising. And so for my body and lots of bodies too, I will start to experience like bloat, but only because everything is making room for, right? Like everything is spreading. And so oftentimes, I wonder if my gym friends have ever noticed this. I will literally just like do a whole class, like holding my womb, and saying like, I love you, you're welcome here. No, because you get to expand. Things get to move aside to welcome this next phase. Often I'm really tired and sad. And so I do a lot of journaling. That is for me the time that I really start to work on what do I need to let go of. I try to listen to sad songs. I try to do things that allow me to cry, that just don't fight it. Yes, baths. Baths are hard for me. I don't know about for other people because I'm like just sitting there with my naked body. And so sometimes then I have to also add on some self-affirmations in the bathtub too. Yeah. I'll have to be like, I love you, belly, right? One of my favorite exercises is to have, when my body hits the water, whether it's a shower or a bath, is to say, this is my wrist and I love you. Or this is my knee and I love you. This is my thigh. This is my cellulite. This is my stretch mark. These are loved and welcome here. And it's hard. I don't want people to think that the purpose of affirmations is to move us from a place of like disgust or frustration or lack of love to a place of love. Yeah. And so sometimes it feels silly saying these because we don't necessarily believe them at first. Yeah. That's okay.
It's hard.
The point of affirmation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Affirmations, I think, are so difficult. Wow. Yeah. When I first started doing affirmations, it was something that took weeks for me to even get to the end of the list because I like to do them in a mirror. I like to sit in as comfortable as wow, that was not a sentence, Holland.
You like to sit comfortably?
I like to be as naked as possible. Oh. As naked as I am.
I love that.
Comfortable. And point out 10 things that I like about myself.
Yes, love it.
It's hard to find 10 things you like about yourself when you're naked. Yep. It's really goddamn hard. And it takes, I will be crying by the end of it and telling, internally thinking, I don't believe these things, but then I do it again. And I do it again. It's so hard to love yourself. Especially in these phases of, a menstrual cycle where you're so up and down all the time. And it is difficult.
To that, I was going to say, I hope you masturbate sometimes because Betty Dodson talks about this. Other people do, to make love to self. And so another thing that I do, especially pre-menstrual cycle, is a thing called self-pornography. It's not necessarily filming lovemaking or masturbation, but I will take photos of myself, while naked or while in lingerie or while in an outfit. And I want everybody to hear me when I don't feel comfortable in my body.
You did that to me the other day. I came over thinking, I feel so ugly. I put on this outfit and I feel hideous. I think we recorded a podcast and now I'm watching back the podcast. It's the one we released yesterday. And I'm like, Holland, you look the same as you do every other goddamn day. You look great, girl. And you took a picture of me and you said, you're going to look at this tomorrow. And you're going to think you look so pretty.
Literally. Like the research shows, y'all, 24 to 48 hours later. We're like, oh, yeah. I did this on a recent, was it my birthday? I don't know. It was a getaway with my partner. And I had bought this cute lingerie. You saw it, like that fishnetty stuff. And when I got it, I loved it. When I tried it on the first time, I loved it. When I put it on at the hotel, we had planned the sexy getaway, I hated it. I felt like a stuffed sausage. I was like, okay,
Happens to the best
You
of
know
us.
what to do. Take pictures of yourself. And every photo I hated, right?
Yep.
Every photo I thought all of these mean things. And then sure enough, like the next week, I forgot they were on my phone. It was like, oh my goodness.
I look so good.
Yeah, y'all, it's so real. And oh my goodness, media doesn't help, you know? So I think another thing that I will do in those times is if I find myself doom scrolling, right? Going down to places, you know, following people who I feel are more beautiful in the moment, I will get off social for a while and just take a day, take a break. Also doing something with my body. Our energy levels for exercise aren't that high, but a walk can feel super good. So reminding us that our bodies are more than sexual objects for male objectification is, and I say it like that because I just think women are nicer when it comes to these things.
Yeah.
But our bodies are more than sexual objects to be looked at and objectified. So going on a walk, or I don't know, swinging a kettlebell or lifting something or climbing or horseback riding or doing something with that body that has a purpose can often help me.
Sports have always helped me. Gives me like a purpose. Even if I lose, at least I'm going for something.
Yeah. Right. And I think, I don't know, basketball you would know much more about, but like, okay, I assisted that basket, right? I did something. This body of mine contributed in a way that is not, oh, she's a sex object.
Yeah.
It's not,
purpose outside. Yeah.
So that's luteal. Menstrual. Everybody has a very different experience with menstruation, and every cycle can look so different too.
So different.
So different. I want to talk about, if you feel comfortable with it, one of your first cycles here when you texted me in a panic. Can we talk about that? Because I think that's a very real thing.
Absolutely.
Because I have those cycles every once in a while too, where I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah. So it was the weekend of 9/11, which is why I remember it, because I was like, tomorrow's 9/11. And I was distraught for multiple reasons. But I had spent the night at my partner's house, and I woke up feeling so much pain in my stomach and in my uterine area. And I knew I had been on my period. I was on my period the day before. I think I started Friday, and this was Saturday. And I woke up in so much pain, I could barely even move. And I looked at my partner and I was like, I gotta leave. Like, it's 8 a.m. on a Saturday and I need to go home now. So I drove home crying, like blind from pain. Not blind, but like tears. And just like, it's a 20-minute drive, and it was the longest 20-minute drive of my life. It was awful. And then I finally got home, and I just didn't know what to do with myself. I was just crippling pain all over my body. My brain, I couldn't process anything because it was so much just pain. Like every single neuron in this brain could think of no solution. I didn't take any pain medication. I didn't do anything. The second I got home, I literally just like got naked and sat on the toilet because I was like, I don't know what to do. I was in so much pain. So I texted my mom, and I texted you, and I was like, please help. Please help, because I'm in so much pain. I don't know what to do right now. I mean, I didn't get off that toilet for like an hour.
I think that calling in help is sometimes one of the wisest things we can do, because pain is so real, so real. And sometimes we just need someone else to tell us what to do, right? And I don't want anyone to ever feel ashamed for it, right? I am 38. Am I 38? Yeah. And I still will have a intensely painful cycle, and that comes out of nowhere that I'm not prepared for. And I need like basic things told to me. Like, have you taken pain management drugs?
Yes. That was the first thing you asked me, and I was like, no. I can't get to the kitchen.
I was like, I don't care if you're naked, I'll come over and bring you medication. You were like, I think I can do it.
I did. And it was like so much struggle. I was like holding on to furniture, clawing my way to the kitchen, which is probably 20 feet away, by the way.
It doesn't have very big apartments. Pretty close.
But it's just, I mean, I've historically had bad periods, but every once in a while, you just get one of those that's straight from fucking hell.
Yep. Then I was like, get in a hot tub. Like there is this magic with temperature play, which it's like I said for you, y'all, cold or hot. And so I was telling Holland, even if you just put the hot water and just get your feet in, just your feet, like enough of that will do this really crazy thing. It will tell the blood to go to a different area. She could have stepped on ice cubes too, would have worked, right? Putting ice cubes in the palms of your hand. Temperature can really, really, really help us relieve pain for just long enough that we can have like a cognizant thought as well, right? And I also said caffeine. You hadn't had any coffee, I don't think.
No, I
either.
hadn't, which is weird for me.
Yeah. And so sometimes, again, pain will blind us and caffeine will speed the painkiller like through our body too. And sometimes we just need that.
Yeah.
Which is so sad.
I just needed the reminder of this is what you can do for yourself because it's just those moments of blind pain where you're like, I'm so stuck. Yeah. And I don't know what to do. And I should know what to do. I do know what to do.
No, but no shoulds. Like that whole like shit all over yourself type of thing. No, I think we need to ask for help sometimes. And I think if we existed in communities where, this was more a ritualistic piece of life, you would have already been in like the tent.
Yeah.
You would have already been with the people who were caring for you and feeding you nutritious foods. And so then when you woke up in pain, somebody would have been there to massage your back and remind you of your power and asked you what you needed to cleanse and let go of. You know, like you would have been with people. You would have already been in the tent. You would have already been, right, had this community of people around you. Yeah. And I think our American obsession with doing things on our own gets in our way sometimes.
It does.
And I know I do it. I'll be like, how am I this? I've been menstruating since I was 11. I don't have this down yet, right? No. I also think last thing, and then I want to get to the other phases of the cycle, free bleeding, which I know sounds so silly, but like another thing that will really help me for a super heavy period is to be in the bathtub and just let myself bleed, not with a tampon or a menstrual disc or a menstrual cup or a flex disc, like just letting myself free bleed. And there are studies on that sometimes like literally the uterus is trying to contract and we have stuff up in there and it just wants to push things through. So I definitely think if one feels comfortable and has a bathtub that is okay for this, I think it's great. I want to definitely, it's a privilege. We don't all have bathtubs. I've lived in many an apartment with no bathtub. Sometimes they're dirty because we share them with a bunch of roommates and stuff like that too. So I get it. And that's why, you know, a hot shower can work too. Just putting the hot water on your lower back or just on your wrists or just on your feet. You can sit on the side of the bathtub if you have it or stand in the shower and just let the force of the water fall on your feet. Focus on extremities. That will really help.
Yeah. The hot water helped a ton. I did end up taking a bath. I also drank coffee and I did free bleed for the rest of the day. I didn't put a tampon in because I'm a tampon girly. Nothing else really works for me. Pads make me feel suffocated. And so what I did was I actually have like a designated pair of period pants. And I wear my designated pair of period panties with the period pants. And I will free bleed for the full day because putting anything up there is just so irritating to my body. Like I can literally feel my uterus being like, no. And so I have to just not have anything in there. And then I just sat on the couch and watched Gilmore Girls and ordered myself a bagel. And that was the day. And I just all day felt so out of it and so not myself. And it was just, sometimes we just have hard days and there's just nothing you can do about it.
Holland knows this, and we will soon have a course available on the internets about this. But I do have a whole mindful menstruation thing, and I do find that the harder my cycles, and call me woo-woo, the more I usually need to release. The more, and I usually feel them, and I'm not surprised that it came shortly after I moved here, right? Like releasing the Holland that was, welcoming that Holland that is coming into fruition. Yeah. I find that my body's like, let go. I'm like, no. And she's like, yes. So I do, you know, that course will be available for download. But if you want to reach out to admin@sexedforyou.com and say, I want more mindful menstruation resources, I can definitely set you up. I have a whole plan for every day.
You do.
And I love it. And I truly use it because I found myself hating my periods.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't live the rest of my life like this. I refuse to live the rest of my life like this. I don't want to be a victim in my narrative at all. And that came from lived experience and stories of abuse. And I thought, no, for every 24 days for the rest of my life, I'm going to feel like I'm being punished, because that's a lot of the religious narrative around it too, is that this is the punishment. And I didn't like it, so I had to change the story.
Yeah, I think shift in perspective is one of the most powerful things we can do for ourselves. I mean, that is something every single year could genuinely look back and say, these are the perspectives that I have shifted. Yeah. And I think that's one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself is teach yourself new ways. It is not easy at all.
No.
It is not something that just happens overnight. You're like, I'm actually going to love my period. It is a continual effort towards like, oh, this sucks and it's so disgusting, towards this is beautiful and I need to listen to my body. And that can be applied in so many different ways. But I think periods were a big one for me, because I grew up always feeling like periods were so gross and that period blood is disgusting. And then I remember having a conversation with someone back home and being like, oh, that's so funny. Like, I had period blood on my shoe because I was on my period and I had taken tampon out and shit happens. And I just like licked my finger, leaned down, and took it off. And they were like, ew. And I looked at them and I was like, no, that is beautiful. My body is doing one of the most incredible things it could do. I am in a part of a phase of my cycle that is empowering and beautiful. And I'm not just going to look at my body and be like, ew. No, I love her. She is doing what she needs to do. And I love her for that. And that shift in perspective was just so obvious in that moment to me. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry that you feel that way about yourself, because I remember feeling that way and it hurt me. It hurt me for a long time.
Yeah. It's such a phallocentric way of looking at the world too, right? The fact that we'd be better if we didn't have periods.
No, we would not.
Okay. I just want everyone, I understand that periods can be hard, and please, we need to seek medical help if they are interfering in our lives and all of these types of things. I don't think that drugs are wrong. I don't think that things helping us manage them are wrong, but we need to bleed. And how we populate the earth is people with uteruses. And this idea that we'd be stronger, better, more capable without bleeding this whole idea needs to be put up in flames. No, maybe men are the weird ones because they don't bleed. What if we flipped it over and we were like, oh, it's really a shame that you don't bleed. I've taught my partner about how I use my monthly period to edit my story to your idea, like this concept of, wait, I can change my beliefs. I can change my perspective on things once a month. And he's begun to see it as like, well, I'm kind of jealous. And he said the other day, like, could I do this kind of? And I was like, yeah, use the moon. If somebody doesn't want to bleed, they can totally use the moon to kind of reassess and say, what am I going to let go of? Or if somebody's had a hysterectomy or has gone through menopause, you deserve to get to pause and say, ooh, what do I like? What do I want to let go of? What do I want more of? Yeah, I think we got to change our perspectives. We've got to, or else it's not true equality or egalitarianism. It's just wishing we were more like men. No.
I think learning in school and college that men are on a 24-hour hormonal cycle versus men or women being on a 32 to 28 whatever day hormonal cycle just changed so much about how I see the world, because it makes so much sense.
Yes.
There is so much knowledge and insight into the way our world works when you look at, we've set up this world to cater to men, and we can't change that now. This is how it is, and I hope that it does change in the future. But even just acknowledging that feels so empowering, because you're like, you know what? No, I'm not a man.
No.
I don't have a penis. It's okay for me to have an off day because I'm in this phase of my cycle, because you know what? They go through their cycles in 24 hours. It's just not, we're just not set up the same hormonally. Yeah. It makes a big difference.
reminds me of us talking about Cassandra Speaks and this concept of doing power differently. And Holland knows this, but I am stubbornly dedicated to running this business in a way that honors our menstrual cycles too. And yeah, if we have a day where we're feeling, oh, so yucky, we need to be in sweatpants and a messy bun and do our work from our computer and work for as long as we can and then shut it and trust that we'll be better tomorrow. This concept of only enough, fully enough, I think we can. And I wish I saw more businesses run by people with uteruses in a way that served people with uteruses instead of we just need to exist in this phallic-driven world.
Yeah.
I envision a day. Call me crazy. I just envision a day where it can be. And people have asked me before, like, well, you have to see clients. What do you do? And again, I dress myself in gentle clothes. I get more sleep. I take a bath at the end of the day. Yes, I understand. And I'm not going to like, when my period came at 22 days, I didn't cancel my day of clients.
No.
I just took care of myself.
Yes.
I had all this tea. You know, my clients probably didn't notice the difference. I noticed the difference.
Yeah.
I had hot liquids with me constantly. I have this like cherry pit thing that I warm up in the microwave and it holds heat for forever.
Yeah.
And so after my first in-person client, I had virtuals the rest of the day and it was on my lap the whole day. And I'm going to care for myself.
Yeah.
And we can. Okay, before we get too far, we said we were going to talk about the stages in the menstrual cycle.
Follicular, is that where we're moving?
Follicular. Okay, so it's like two humps is how it's like two breasts.
Yeah.
Okay, boob 1 and boob 2. Follicular is boob 1. Luteal is boob 2. Okay,
The left boob and the right boob.
Like you're reading left to right. That's how you're going to view this. Okay, get it in your head. Then the menstrual cycle falls in the beginning of the follicular phase. And yeah, menstruation, again, we talked about that strongly, but towards the end of menstruation, you're going to feel energy coming back. You're going to start to feel like, oh my goodness, here I come again, right? And that's where I am now. So yes, I put together an outfit today. We applaud. But then ovulation is coming. It's coming. Our bodies are preparing. Yes, as Holland said earlier, we start to get more hungry. We start to want to feed these bodies. We start to want to become more fertile. We start to want to attract things to us. What's fascinating about this, and my favorite part, is that it doesn't always mean a mate. We can also be attracting friends to us. We can also be attracting work to us. It's a great time to negotiate bids at your office. Use that power of attraction to your advantage. It's not bad. It is really good.
Schedule that important meeting right before you ovulate.
Yes.
Or while you ovulate. My sweet spot is like the 3 days before and the 3 days in of ovulation. That is where I'm like, I am a powerful bitch and you should bow down to me. I genuinely can feel it change. Like I'll wake up and I'll be like, I'm a bad bitch. I can feel it.
She literally walks differently. It's fun. She literally walks differently.
Have you noticed that?
Oh yeah. No. Because we do it. And I think people out there, if I'm presenting people and people with uteruses and women, we do a disservice to women too, because sometimes we will we'll be mean about it. We'll be like, whoa, who decided to dress up today, or who decided because of our own insecurities, will shit on people when they feel in their power. I encourage you to just use it, right? Yeah. So when Holland shows up in her power to a meeting, I'm just like, I'm going to ride that high, okay? Because it doesn't always coincide. Sometimes I will make her bleed with me, and it's very unkind of me. Sometimes I will pull her. But oftentimes, no, we're operating independently. We should just use it. Let's stop being mean at each other. So follicular ends right at ovulation. Okay. So ovulation is sometimes the midpoint. If you have a cycle like mine, I usually ovulate around day 10 because my cycles are so short.
Yeah.
And then because usually the luteal phase is about 14 days is kind of how we factor this. So luteal's like the second boob. We already said underneath the first boob, you do have, I'm going to always say this wrong, the proliferative phase.
Oh, yeah.
And that is from your menstrual cycle to ovulation. People don't talk about it as often, but it's that space where Holland and I were talking about where you might feel pretty creative. You might feel like, oh, it's coming. It's coming. Good things are coming to me. Good things are coming to me. Ovulation's going to hit. You're going to feel really powerful. Then you're going to hit into your luteal phase. Some people can ride that high from ovulation for a while. Again, depending on how long your cycle is, this is a great time to be doing strength training, to be like pushing your distance if you're a marathon runner. To be getting the good creative work done.
Yeah.
Like be in that creative power, truly, truly. Then your body's going to start to slow down.
Yeah.
And instead of hating on it, go to gentleness, and let it slow down, pay attention, notice, and really, I like to challenge my like capitalistic tendencies in this time to be like, am I now worth less because I can't accomplish as much?
No, absolutely not.
Right? No. Holland's saying it to me. No, you would not. But right, the self-talk that goes through our minds, it can be radically different.
And it can be hard to combat that.
Yes.
But I think one of the most powerful things you can do when you're having that negative self-talk is notice the things that you are leaning into. That is what I have to focus on. I can't let myself dwell on the things that I am not feeling attracted to.
Yeah.
Instead, notice what feels good.
Yep.
Notice that, I'm loving cooking right now. I want to cook for myself or cook for my friends. Notice and lean into the things that feel natural in your phases because that's the most powerful thing you can do.
Yep. Vaginally, we can talk about this too. Cervical mucus is going to change throughout our cycles as well. So towards the end of menstruation, obviously blood is going to be drying up. So you're going to have some brown discharge, totally normal. Sometimes people get a little pastiness towards the end too. Then,
what do you mean by pastiness?
Almost as if like pastiness. Towards the end of a menstrual cycle, you're going to have a little bit of dry blood. You're going to have a little bit of vaginal secretions, but you just might get some like leftover residue in your underwear or in your pad. Thank you. And then some people will have just kind of normal light discharge, nothing. Then as you get closer to ovulation, you're going to start to, especially if you're not on any types of medication, you're going to start to get, Holland started going like this. It literally feels like this. It's like sticky. Egg whitey, sticky.
It'll stick to my inner thighs.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like
when you pull down your underwear, it's like all of a sudden it's sticking to my inner thighs.
It's supposed to be sticky because it's going to carry the sperm up where it needs to go into the uterus to find an egg to implant in the uterus. So it literally needs to do work. And so it's like it is a super sticky consistency. And this is one of the things I wish was taught in sex ed so much more in middle schools, because before young people are on birth control or have enough education, at least people who bleed could know this. This is power.
Such power.
It's like young people could feel this. They can feel this. And if we empowered young people to say no to sex for like this 6-day window, it would be so powerful.
Yes.
It would be life-changing. It's definitely going to change consistency. Some folks will notice literally the vagina, like if you go to wipe, and your hand, if you're like wiping urine off, but your hand almost like slips into your vaginal opening, people will notice literally the vagina feels more open. Yeah. And again, that is for the fact that your body wants to procreate. Yes. Even if you don't like penises and you are a lesbian through and through, your body is still going to do some of these same things.
The female body just has these almost like autopilot things that it does throughout your cycle. And it's because we are genetically programmed to do what we can to mate and procreate and continue the species. And that is just how the body works. And I think noticing that lets you just step into this power of womanhood. And it is one of the coolest things. Anyway, continue about the discharge, because that's one of the most important things about phases that I think.
It's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is, you might notice also, I always like to tell people that orgasms are different when you're ovulating. They can feel so powerful and so yummy. Don't get mad at yourself if your orgasms at a different time of the month don't feel as powerful as ovulatory orgasms. Also, don't feel bad if you don't like penetration as much at other times of the month as you do ovulating, right? Again, if you are a person with a vulva and a vagina and you are also with a person with a vulva and a vagina, this might be the time of the month you love a dildo. And you might be like, why is it that I only like a dildo at a certain time? Because our bodies, again, as Holland so wisely said, genetically want to populate the earth, even if we're not sexually attracted to that thing. So satisfy your desires. Don't let all of a sudden it make you think like, what's wrong with me?
Get a pink dildo.
Yeah, get a dildo that suits your fancy. So then cervical mucus is going to start to not be as like sticky It's going to lose its stickiness, and then it'll just be whatever is normal for you. Some people have like a pretty liquidy discharge. Some people have like nothing, and they're just dry. Again, all the things matter. Hormones matter. How your age matters. All these different things. But then just your normal amount of discharge, which we need to normalize. That could be another sticker, normalize discharge. I can't tell you the amount of people who think there's something wrong with them because they have vaginal discharge. And y'all, our vaginas are self-cleaning ovens. They are these magical things that want to restore the pH balance in the vaginal flora at all times. So your vaginal flora is constantly doing like this check. It's like, did I have a penis inside of me that was a little dirty? Well, then I need to do this thing. So you might feel an uptick in vaginal discharge literally as it's trying to fix
Consistent
itself.
sex will definitely change the way your vulva is discharging, whether that be with a female, a non-binary, or a man. Like it will just change because there's things going in there. Even if you're masturbating every day, it'll affect the way your discharge is. Your discharge is simply your body's response to what is going inside and what you're eating and what you're intaking. Discharge is the body's response.
And it's healthy and lovely.
Yes.
Please don't use chemically driven feminine washes. They are horrible for your vaginal flora.
Yes. If you need something, we have an absolutely fantastic partnership with this brand called Mama Taro. I use it all the time. It helps with irritation with like clothes because, sometimes we all got a pair of panties that's really cute, but it's too tight.
Oof.
Use this Mama Taro salve. It is the most amazing thing I've ever used in my life.
Me too.
I use it after I shave. I use it after the uncomfy pair of panties. I use it after sex. It is so comforting and it is safe.
Yes,
for the
and it is
vulva.
Literally just like essential oils and plant-based things. I need to tell them. I used it for a yeast infection the other day. Cleared it up faster than any over-the-counter chemically based product I have ever used.
That's amazing.
With their suppositories.
Really?
Yes. No,
I haven't tried their suppositories
because this was the first yeast. I try not to get yeast infections.
Yeah, we do our best.
Yeah, I had a lot of good sex. And then all of a sudden I was like, ooh, vaginal pH is off. And so thought, what is the thing I have in my house? Oh, Mama Taro's products. So I need to reach out to them and let them know because
they are fantastic.
Yeah, we will link them, y'all, in the show notes because we love their products. They are an inclusive, wonderful brand. Look for products like theirs. There's a few other companies, but
theirs
very
are so
seldom.
well priced.
I know.
I really, really would encourage everyone to use Mama Taro. I mean, I have never found a brand that does what they do and does it so well.
Yeah, I love it. So on that, and then you're going to start to, everything's going to start to dry up before menstruation starts again. And then lots of people have some spotting is what is commonly called before the period really comes in. That's usually going to be some brown leftover blood as the uterus starts to do its magic. And for those who don't like to track, that's often a really great time. You'll start to feel the vagina sometimes will start to open again a little bit like it does. The uterus will move its position. That's also really cool. If you don't usually stick your hands up your vagina, you should, because you can feel that during ovulation, the uterus moves closer and it's so cool. And also during your menstruation, like literally your uterus moves and it should feel like the tip of your nose. That's kind of what your uterus feels like your cervix does.
Yeah.
It's like cartilage and it kind of feels like that. Feels like the tip of your nose.
It really does. Weird.
It's very, and for some people it's a good feeling. For some people it's not. But we can talk about different kinds of orgasms sometime, but cervical orgasms are kind of fun too. But I feel like we did a really good job talking about
like we did. Can we touch on yeast infections and UTIs since we already mentioned
Yes.
Again, Mama Taro has fantastic products. I chronically get UTIs. It is something that I struggle with. When I'm having consistent sex, I am having a UTI probably once every other month. The problem that comes with that, it is always treated with antibiotics, which is fine, but one, if you're on birth control, antibiotics do nix out your birth control. It's not going to be effective. Also, I always get a yeast infection
if you're on
from the goddamn antibiotics.
That's how it's going to happen.
You're fixing one thing and putting in another.
Because it kills all bacteria.
It does.
Antibiotics are like kill. Which is good. I mean, I like it. I don't want you to have, pain.
But still, and it's terrible. And so then I always, now that we have the Mama Taro, they have a UTI fighting suppository, don't they?
Yeah.
Which
no, this is an oral. It's an oral thing you take.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. You haven't had one yet, right?
I haven't had one yet. So next time, granted, I'm sure there will be a next time. I'll reach out to Mama Taro.
We have some. Yeah. We need to do full reviews for them. Yeah. So that UTIs are a bummer, y'all, and treat them quickly. Yes, you can drink cranberry juice and yes, you can do this stuff, but yeah, treat them quickly because UTIs can spread and I'm not about infection.
Become kidney infections.
And I am super crunchy homeopathic. Same. And I am not pro UTI staying in your body because it will do bad things. Yeast infections. Yeah. Usually people will start to notice a yeast infection by a few early symptoms and the faster you can catch it, the better. So if you are noticing discomfort, like itching, if you wear a pair of panties, or with me, it's always athletic, legging type of stuff. It rubs too. And you're just like, feel that little bit of irritation, the perfect product. We sound like a sales pitch for Mama Taro. Listen, we love them, but they have a salve that is just like, it smells like heaven, first of all.
And it feels so good.
It's just like putting like Vicks Vapor Rub. Imagine like that, like consistency.
But dear God, don't put Vicks Vapor Rub in your vulva.
That's not what
anywhere
I was
near
saying. I was saying it feels like that consistency. Don't do that.
I just wanted to double check that
don't
everyone
do that.
knows you
Mama
shouldn't.
Taro in the link. That's what it feels like, though.
Yes.
It's kind of like that consistency, and you put that little bit on. You kind of rub it all around the outside. I do like the opening of my vagina. You're not supposed to stick it inside. You're supposed to just get everything on the outside. That usually will clear it up. If I'm starting to feel like the itchy, but usually what is signifying that you're over the tipping point is kind of a fishy odor to your vagina. Usually you can just smell it. Like you go to the bathroom and you're like, nah. That is a telltale sign.
Or like cottage cheesy looking discharge. Like it's very starkly white.
Very starkly white.
And it's like, it just cottage cheese.
Cottage cheesy.
Only thing.
That's what it looks like.
It's just bumpy, lumpy shit.
Yep. Because the body's like, I'm going to make this better. Watch me.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So it tries to make it better. And then, yeast is yeast. So again, crunchy things you can do are absolutely kind of tamper down on other yeasty things, right? Kind of try to cut your carbs for a little bit, try to cut down on beer, anything that sugar, things that like yeast loves. But then also Mama Taro's products are amazing. And then I've used all of the
I don't have a huge problem with Monistat. Monostat's never super, it's basically, it looks like a tampon. You insert it, and then you just kind of, for the rest of the day, it's gonna like slowly come out. It just kind of like melts.
It's totally gotten rid of them for me.
Yeah, that's what I've had to use.
I was shocked by how efficient Mama Taro was. I was literally thinking it wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
And then it got rid of it faster than Monistat ever has.
Oh, that's so exciting.
And I just smelled like a health food store.
That's amazing.
That's all. Like, I didn't feel chemically. I just really smelled like a healthy food store. Like you go into Whole Foods or something. Like that's kind of what I felt like a crunchy store, hilarious. Which I'm okay with.
Yeah. I mean, who is it, you know?
No, but it really cleaned it up. From a sex education perspective, do strongly recommend abstaining from penetrative intercourse during a yeast infection. It will speed up the healing time massively. I understand everybody's got needs, but let the vulva be tended to from the outside. Keep things out of your vagina. It's like, let me clean.
For UTI too.
Yeah.
I do have 2 quick facts, like nerdy facts about UTIs.
Get us nerdy facts, then we got to close out.
So the reason that women get UTIs so often and men generally just don't, is because our, oh my gosh.
Urethra.
Yes, thank you for that word. It escaped my brain.
I am helpful sometimes.
Our urethra is so short. So we are incapable of flushing out all of this stuff as well as men are, because that urethra is so short. It is about 1/8 of the size of the male's urethra, which is just insane to me.
That's so cool.
And then another fun fact about UTIs and yeast infections, most people with uteruses are going to be more inclined towards one or the other, UTIs or yeast infections. I get UTIs more often.
I get yeast infections. I've never had a UTI my whole life.
Exactly. And it's almost one or the other. So just be aware of which yours is and know what your best treatment process is.
Don't be shamed. Don't be shamed. No. Look at what happened around it. See if you can change those, like the context another time, but also just don't be ashamed. Yeah. It is when nobody gets ashamed when they get a stuffy nose.
No. And like, guys, y'all, okay, going back to the thing where we are not perfect. I one time had a yeast infection for 3 months. 3 months because I had been tested and treated for an STI and had to take antibiotics. And because I was so full of shame and didn't think about the fact that those probably gave me a yeast infection. I thought it was just like God smiting me. Like, you're just going to be uncomfortable vaginally forever because of the STI. No, it was a yeast infection, and I let myself have it. Not let myself, but I had it for 3 months. So don't feel shame. Please.
We didn't even get into bacterial vaginosis and all. Untreated things can start to lead to, just not good stuff in our body. We deserve, back to periods and getting to know our bodies, and we deserve to know our bodies.
We do.
Because we are our body's biggest advocates. We are our body's biggest ally. We are our body's biggest lover and our longest lover and our forever lover. And we get to take care of ourselves. It's really important.
That was beautiful. Let's end on that. Do our closeout.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the very end of Sex Ed for You. We will make sure that the links to all the things that we mentioned are in the show notes. Remember, these are opinions and yes, sometimes research, but it's where it meets reality here. So please check us. Please send us updated research. If you ever know the nerdy stuff behind something and want to send it over, please do. These are our thoughts and opinions. We encourage you to formulate your own. If you ever have questions, send us an email at admin@sexedforyou.com. If you want to talk to me and do some sex ed for yourself, go to sexedforyou.com/free consult. Check us out on Instagram. That's our biggest platform, sex_ed_for_you.